I'm officially back from vacation. The lies and slander that Nathan threw about me on my journey can officially end. We have Professor Keely Shaw joining the show. She just announced her retirement. We break it all down with her. You won't want to miss it. Let's get started.
Welcome to Parasport Nation with Alex Smyth and Nathan Clement.
Welcome into Parasport Nation. I'm your host, Alex Smyth, and as always, my co-host, partner in crime, Nathan Clement. Nathan, this chair is nice and warm. Thank you for keeping it toasty for me while I was away.
You're more than welcome, but the folks want to know, did you find Waldo?
I don't know whether or not I found Waldo. I found a bunch of people in long striped shirts and hat and glasses. I was convinced for a little bit, but I was just chasing a random Portuguese person up and down a beach, and they got concerned, so I had to stop.
That's very fair. Well, it's lucky you made it back here without being in shackles, so that's good. And it's great to have you back, Alex.
Yeah. Well, it's great to be back. I know you had some great episodes while I was away, some fantastic guests. We have another fantastic guest today, Dr. Keely Shaw. She is going to be joining the program and just reflecting on her career and the now former teammate of yours announcing her retirement recently. So lots to get into that. But you've also been busy away from the show. You were at the Para-Tough Cup over the weekend in Vancouver. Give us some details. How did that go?
It was a beautiful day at the Richmond Olympic Oval in Vancouver, where we were able to have 3 different sports there for a lot of our corporate CPC, Canadian Paralympic Committee partners to try: sitting volleyball, wheelchair basketball, and para ice hockey. And overall, there were some great athletes that came out demonstrating, sharing all the different sports, but as well, we had some great dialogue, great conversation there. And just at this moment in time, it's really exciting as we did have a bunch of our Milano Cortina hopefuls there. And just hearing how they're doing, hearing their optimism, the excitement for the games in the next couple months is really encouraging. But that day as a whole is always a beautiful and really exciting event where we get to introduce the Paralympic movement, the Paralympic sport to so many different partners or people, and just have a day celebrating a lot of the work that has been done by the CPC and a lot of the athletes around us in this community that we call Vancouver, wherever the PTC or Para-Tough Cups happen around Canada.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. And it's always great because I feel like those types of events are really great because you can mingle with other athletes that you won't necessarily find on other kind of media summits or things like that, because you're getting the winter athletes that you get to kind of catch up with or get to know, and they're in your community. So that's always fantastic. And Nathan, without delaying anymore, we have your now former teammate, the 2-time Paralympic medalist, Keely Shaw. She announced her retirement from competition. So why don't we bring her on and share our conversation with Keely Shaw. Keely, thank you so much for joining us today.
I mean, it's always a pleasure to talk to you guys. I'm super happy to be back.
So obviously the big news is you've decided to retire from competition. When did you know it was the time to retire? Why now?
I mean, that's a really big question. I feel like it's a very loaded question, but I always knew it was not my intent to train for the LA Games. That was not a goal that was in my calendar, but what things look like between Paris and LA was a little bit of a question mark for me. So this year, I really just took the opportunity to ride my bike for fun, explore different forms of movement. I did race once, so I raced out in Belgium. And that was really, I wanted to go out because I wanted my last race to not be at the Paralympic Games. The Paralympics are such a high stakes environment. And because in cycling, we pretty much race from day one to the last day. So there's always somebody on the team who is still in race mode, there's never a time as a team when we can all just kind of take a breath. So it was really important to me that my last race wasn't Paris. So I wanted to make sure I had the priority, that I prioritized, and I had the opportunity to go out to Belgium to race with the team. But then besides that, really, again, just enjoy riding my bike for fun, take a step away from structured programmed exercise. And what I found really was that it was really freeing to not have all of my movement tied to exercise. I think, and I'm sure a lot of para athletes can relate to this, is when your ability to move has been taken away, just the blunt act of moving can sometimes be a celebration. So to be able to just move, whether that meant going for a really slow bike ride, or maybe that meant going and crushing it when maybe on that day my training plan wouldn't have said that. Allowing just my day, my mood, my body to dictate what I was doing that day, my life even. Instead of having a training plan dictate it was really freeing. And even as much, it was really important for me also to get back to why I started riding bikes, which is for fun. Everybody thinks, it's so lucky, you're so lucky you get to do this for a living. And absolutely, I was very fortunate to race my bike for a living for 9 years. But sometimes when something becomes a job, it's no longer a hobby, right? So it was really important to me to get back to riding my bike for fun, to not ever get to the point where I didn't want to ride my bike, because there's always going to be days like that when it's your job, where you just don't want to. So to take a step back, and then to also be able to just switch my focus a little bit to focus more on family, to focus more on work. Because I always have been this individual who did have the dualities of my life being academics and athletics. So to be able to focus a little bit more on the academic side of things, focus on my research, and it's allowed me to get some pretty cool ideas percolating and some other pretty cool ideas actually off the ground.
Keely, first off, congratulations on such an amazing career. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you as a teammate from when I got onto the team in 2022 to now that you've retired in 2025. But throughout your whole entire time, has there been any memories or moments that stand out to you most as being a cyclist with Canada's team?
And it's funny, and I put this in my Instagram post, and it wasn't only for the gram, as they say. It really is how I feel, is that I've had the honor and I've had the privilege to stand on a lot of podiums in a lot of different places in the world. But it's not the podiums that I remember. It's all of those moments in between. It's the times on the track when you kind of share a knowing glance. Me and Mel Pemble would share that knowing glance, and sometimes it sucks. And it's not it's going to get better. It's just that silent knowing glance of, yeah, I've been there. Yeah, we just have to get through today. I remember my coach Guillaume's face the first time he told me I was going to be racing for a world title. I remember Seb, always the joke of only 13 more days with Keely, knowing that it was always said with love. So it's that banter, it's the teammates, it's those moments in between that really shaped my time as a cyclist, and I think is what allowed me to excel, or at least succeed, maybe not excel, but succeed in cycling, because they made it fun. And I've told this to Sebastian, Coach Travers, before, is that the effort that he has put in to building the culture and the community on the paracycling team is why we are successful as a team. He's made it a community and a culture where we know that we are accepted and we belong beyond our results on the bike, which allows us then, we're not racing to not lose, we can race to win. And when you race to win, you can take risks, and sometimes those risks pay off and sometimes they don't. But almost always, if you look at the long-term consequences of feeling safe and able to take risks without your value as a person being diminished, that trajectory is almost always up. And I do think that's why, as a paracycling team in general, we've been able to succeed.
I want to kind of dig a bit deeper with you, because you talked about how, having that freedom now to be able to move and maybe go for like a ride at your pace or on your terms. Like, what are you most looking forward to in this new chapter of your post-racing career?
I must say, I'm really looking forward to the time I'm going to be able to spend with family and friends. As any athlete might know, sometimes you have a busy day and you still need to be in bed at 9, because especially as somebody with a brain injury, you need to sleep so that you can perform. And now, if the only time I get to hang out with my husband is from 8:30 until 10, it's okay if I stay up till 10. It's okay if I sleep in a little bit more. When work gets a little bit busy, things get a little bit chaotic, it's not a big deal if I end up spending 10 hours in the lab on that one day. I don't now need to go find another 3 hours to ride my bike. So it's just kind of, and this comes, I do feel very privileged being able to say this, but it's just being able to experience a quote unquote normal life. And if we're being blunt, I'm an academic. My life's never going to be normal. But to be able to have more freedom in how I divvy up my time instead of always having this block of time. And it's not half an hour, it's usually 2 to 4 hours block of time that I need to find in my day on top of whatever else might be going on in order to train. And then, of course, all the prep, trying to time your day so that if you've got a key training, that happens before anything else, making sure you've got time to get a good meal in, you've got rest, foam roll. There's the hours of training, which is a lot as an endurance athlete, but it's all the figuring, the brain power that goes into when is the best time to train. It's all the time that goes into the recovery process. Because as much as we might train 15, 20 hours a week, it's a 24-hour-a-day job. Every decision is going to impact how I show up on the bike. So every decision has to be made with purpose. So having a little bit more flexibility to just fly by the seat of my pants, for want of a better term, has been pretty cool. And then also to be able to explore other forms of movement. So getting into running a little bit more, which is kind of cool because I've never run before. So now you're hitting PRs again. And when you start getting to a higher level of competition or a higher level of training and cycling, it was a fight for every single watt. Every PB was, it almost felt impossible. And every single PB was a celebration because it took so long. Whereas it's kind of nice to have that, not immediate, but those PRs, those successes come a lot more quickly when you're new to something.
It's very liberating. And as you said earlier, it's just that freedom and that fun, especially being around people close to you, just means the world. And I just want to stay with the team for one last second here. Is your roommate, Mel Pemble, just recently at the time of this recording, won a world championship. Can you talk about your relationship with Mel just over the years, how tight and close you two became?
Yeah, it's funny because Mel and I kind of had a small interaction at one of our training camps over COVID when we had come out to Burnaby. She was just getting on the team. And then our first training camp back, kind of into a more regular training schedule after the pandemic, was we were thrown into rooms together, and then we just kept being thrown into rooms together. And it wasn't an immediate glued at each other's side. But as we start to get to know each other, as we start to spend more time together, it really was more than just teammates. It was friends, and friends beyond what you might expect of two people who just spend time together per se, because it really is something special. Your teammates are these people who they see you at your most vulnerable. They see you when you've poured your heart into everything and you come up short. They see you on the days when you don't want to show up and you have no choice. So I think the friendship and the bond, the relationship that forms in between teammates, let alone when you're rooming together and spending all that time together, is unlike anything that people who haven't been in that sort of team environment could experience. And I had such a blast watching Mel. And I think my only FOMO of watching the track worlds, or at least trying to follow along, it wasn't the racing. I'm very content with that decision. It was being there to celebrate with Mel. Because as much as Mel won a world championship, and she won a she's the first world champion in para sprint, which is pretty incredible. That was just the cherry on top of a very successful world championships bid for Mel, with podiums, I think, in every event she did. So watching her, especially after I know it was a disappointing games for Mel, to really see her show up and crush it, for want of a better term, was really great. And yeah, it broke my heart a little bit to not be able to be there to celebrate with her. But I do know that it was the right decision for me. And while I've known I was going to retire now for a while, while actually making the public post and putting it out there came with a lot of feelings. It felt very bittersweet. I know it's the right move, and I think the fact that it does feel bittersweet is a pretty good sign that I did it at the right time. I do it while I'm still in love with the sport. I do it when I still want to ride my bike, and I'm doing it on my own terms.
You can be honest now, Keely. The reason you're retiring is to get away from Nathan, right? Like, we can settle this now. It's you're sick of dealing with him on a constant basis, right?
Well, you make a pro-con list with anything you do, and I mean, you can let it be known, Nathan, whatever side of that pro-con list you think it might be.
I know it was a big red flag on the team, so it's fair to step away. And
It's really the abuse that lefty gives. Sometimes you have to put up boundaries.
yeah. At least I gave you a name for your lefty now too, so we have two lefties in this world now.
Oh, I don't know if the world can handle two lefties, Nathan.
But in terms of what you're going to be looking forward to doing now, Keely, like even though you've stepped away from the competition, like how are you going to continue to be involved with the sport going forward, if not as a competitor?
I'll definitely still be like these are my friends. This has been my life for the last 10 years almost. Yeah. You don't just walk away from that. So you can be sure that I'll still be out on my bike, maybe not on the start of race lines for a while, but I'll still be out on my bike. That's still my favorite way to get around. I'll still be following the results of the team. If Nationals ends up in Western Canada, I'll probably go, and just to see my friends. And my hope really is that with my academic background in sports physiology, particularly with a certain level of expertise in parasport, that I can stay involved in a IST, kind of integrated sport team, if the opportunity arises. And now, don't get me wrong, I know in paracycling we kind of have the epitome. We have one of the best integrated sport teams around. But I've made it very clear to the team that if they ever need a physiologist, that I'm more than happy to be paid to come hang out with them. But no, you can be sure that I'll be looking for opportunities. It's not just going to be passive. I'll be looking for opportunities. Maybe that's even just flying out for a weekend if there's a training camp to go get on the track, every now and then. These people, again, are a huge part of my life. That's something that I'm not willing to walk away from. I'm willing to walk away from competition. I'm not willing to walk away from the people.
I really want to get into that other side, the IST side that you've done. And like throughout your career, you've been always training, and now you're able to fully focus on your work and a lot of the research that you have been doing around parasport, around nutritional science. Is there anything that's really like caught your eye in the last like little while that you're working on right now and really trying to develop, if you want to share or you're open to sharing?
Yeah, of course. So as we know, very little is known about para-athletes in general. So a lot of our research is very rudimentary and very exploratory. But we're starting to build a little bit of a global team and a global partnership, all with the aim of advancing parasport. So we've got some cool studies that we've at least percolated, and we've got them on paper. And now we just need to figure out how to do it, looking at, prevalence of iron deficiency to be able to then inform what other studies need to happen. At our annual exercise physiology conference next year in Edmonton, I'm really hoping to bring a panel of IST who have experience working both with able-bodied and para, to be able to talk to some of the best exercise physiologists in Canada, to be able to say, here's the reality of working with a para athletes. Here's what we need to consider. Here's what you might think we need to consider and we don't actually. And here's what it actually looks like to work with high level para athletes. Because I think that's something that the industry of exercise physiology is lacking. So both from a knowledge translation as well as a research perspective, I think I've got some pretty cool things that are coming up the grapevine, and just kind of keep picking away at it.
If we kind of looked ahead 10 years or 15 years, I know academia can move slowly at times, but what would be your hope that's where the research side of things gets to in that next generation when it comes to the information and the data around the para athlete side of things?
You're right. It's academia moves slow. Parasport research moves even slower. Just if the general population does tend to be, it's a lot less, right? So it's harder to do what we would consider to be strong studies because there is just less of a population. But really, I would love to see if not a focus, a area where we are looking at performance and kind of function beyond initial rehab. So much of the research that we have in disability is around kind of acute injury. How do we improve outcomes and get people out of the hospital, which is very important, don't get me wrong. But once people get out of the hospital, if it's something that an injury or an illness that they acquire later in life, or even if it's something that's more congenital like CP, kind of once they're past the growing stages, we see a lot of CP research ends at like 10. There's a lot of life left after that. And I would love to be able to look and have a greater body of evidence for improving health outcomes and quality of life in that kind of chronic lifetime perspective. Because I really do think that you can't have a good athlete, you can't have a strong athlete without a good base of health. So if we can look at strategies to improve the incidence of UTIs and spinal cord athletes, for example, if we can look at opportunities to improve sleep, these are things that are going to have a huge impact on health, but then there's also going to have downstream effects on the overall performance.
Such a great answer. And really, I want to go back to that athlete side. And this is going to be a deeper question. As an athlete, how do you want to be remembered by your teammates, by coaches, and even up and coming para athletes around Canada?
For my very first international race, I'd always said that anybody who beats me will beat me because they were better on that day and not because they tried harder. So really, I do hope that that my legacy, that I'm remembered by coaches, by teammates, is that it didn't matter what was going on in life. It didn't matter how I felt. I showed up with 100% of what I had at every training session. And what 100% looks like on any given day is going to vary. But I was always out there, and I was going to put everything I had. I was going to leave it on the race course. I was going to leave it on the bike. But beyond that, I hope that at least on the team itself, so the coaches and the athletes, I'm remembered as somebody who brought more to the team than just race results. Somebody that contributed to that team culture, that made sure people felt included, that celebrated the highs, and helped people get through the lows. We don't necessarily celebrate lows in high performance sport. But really just that person who was fun to be around. Racing, international competition is a high stress environment. So I hope to be that person who's remembered as was just good for a laugh, who was cool to hang out with after a race, right? Because we spend a lot more time together training than we do on the bike racing. So that's, I think, going to have a lot more of an impact on the team dynamics and also competition. So in my absence, I really hope that, athletes will sit there and they'll notice my absence, first and foremost, and that they'll say, you know what, Keely would have done this, maybe that can be me. Allowing other athletes to take that leadership role.
I just think everything you're saying is so true. Just having you as a teammate, even though I was only a part of your journey for about 4 years, you are the epitome of a leader, epitome of that hard work. Like there's times I remember where you maybe went down in a race, say throughout there, but you got right back up. You finished hard, you finished strong, and then you were out there that next day racing, putting everything you have on the line. And just the memories that we had as a crew, whether it's Alex, Mike, Mel, you, me, or the whole squad together, just laughing, having a great time. And even that last race in Belgium, we're all out on that balcony together as the sun sets, like every single evening there, just sharing these moments together. It was such a privilege and honor to call you a teammate. And I know everything that you've done in parasport and now that you're going to do on the science side of it, it's going to leave a lasting impact on so many athletes.
And that's really all I can ask for, right? All you can hope for is that your impact lasts longer than you do.
Absolutely. Well, Keely, thank you so much for joining us today, talking with us, because we always enjoy it. I know Nathan does from the teammate. I love it from just, being able to connect with you the few times we've been able to and just learn a bit more about you, about your journey, your story. So don't be a stranger. We'll definitely have you on in the future and have these conversations continue.
And here I thought you were going to say Nathan liked it because he liked hearing himself talk.
Ooh. See, Keely, the more you jab Nathan, the more I appreciate you each and every time. We may have to have you on regularly just as a little Nathan jab. But seriously, congratulations on a great career, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for chatting, guys. It's great to step into this next chapter.
And that was our conversation with Keely Shaw, the now former teammate and member of the paracycling national team. Nathan, I mean, what is there to say about Keely? Like, she's phenomenal. I just appreciate that there's someone on the team that was able to give you as much a grief and jabs as I do on the show. So I'm sure you're going to miss having her there to always share a snide remark or a comment for you.
Oh yeah, she always gave a little bit of reality to all of us, but she overall, Keely was such an amazing teammate to have, and everything that she's done, like on the bike, like her work ethic, her commitment is second to none. Like just the amount of time she dedicated on the bike, whether it's her training, but then also all of her academic pursuits, is just absolutely phenomenal. And from what it sounds like, she could be involved with the team in different ways, and that'd be so exciting to see and have her around the squad in hopefully the years to come.
Yeah, but did you pick up on the fact she was like, oh, if they pay me, I'll be around this team? Yeah, she wasn't going to do it for free. There still has to be money involved to incentivize her. But no, in all seriousness, I know she is someone who is going to be connected to the sport, the teammates, like everything for a long time coming. And I'm excited to see where the academic side of things take her, because she's still very much going to be connected to the parasport movement, just trying to advance things on the academic side. And the work that she is doing, it could have a huge potential down the road for the next and future generations of athletes to have more information, more data, more research on how para athletes are. So I'm excited for that. But at the end of the day, too, it's always a bit bittersweet when you see a great athlete retiring from a sport.
It is, and just knowing her, knowing that work ethic that she has, the impacts that she's going to make now off the bike is going to really change how parasport's perceived, how it's analyzed, how it's really looked at in the years to come, decades to come. And she's going to be quite the leader, quite the machine in that side of things. And I can't wait to see what this committee does, what all these things that she's working towards to really help grow parasport, really help analyze it and share a lot more of the science side of it is going to have that impact. And it's so exciting just to hear her passion and know that she's going to make an everlasting impact.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to see what's next for her. But you know what? That's going to have to wait for another day because we are all out of time. So for Nathan, I'm Alex. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Parasport Nation. Like and subscribe to the channel to follow us now.